Hi guys and welcome back to the channel. Today I've got the tank review for the brand new Italian premium heavy tank, the Bisonte C45, or as I like to call it, the Trashonte. The Trashonte is not a very good tank. Why is it not a very good tank? Because the rate of fire is absolutely garbage. It's just atrocious. And that just kills the tank. It's really sad that they've completely gimped this tank compared to what it is on PC, because even on PC this tank is a bang average tier 8 heavy tank, and it's just not very good. It's not very fun to play because you spend so long in the games twiddling your thumbs, and you need the perfect game, or should I say the perfect circumstances to have a good game in this tank, and that's just not the way a tank should be. It should be able to just do its business and get about, and you know, the user of the tank should be able to get the best out of it. But the thing that you can get the best out of this tank is time. So if games go on for longer than 5 minutes, that's where this tank will be better. It's just not a very good tank generally, and before we go into any further, just don't bother with it. Leave it. Don't buy it. There's no point. And I hope and I pray to God that the Italian heavies, the tech tree, don't come in as bad as this tank. Otherwise, it'll be very disappointing. Because yeah, it's not very competitive compared to a lot of the tanks it will actually face. Most tanks it will face will completely destroy this thing. So without further ado, let's go into it. 155% silver earn. That's not that great in general. I mean, it's okay, but it's not 160%, so it's not that good of a silver earner in itself. As well as the fact that you won't fire that many rounds, so you really won't earn that much credits from it. It's got 218 AP pen and 270 heat pen. Now, this AP pen isn't the best, but it's not the worst. It's pretty decent. The only problem is the accuracy on the gun is trash. And even a 6.0 with the best you can get out of it, it's still not that great in accuracy. So that 218 pen, when you're having to go for weak spots, especially when you're bottom tier, will struggle a little bit. And with the horrendous rate of fire and the awkwardness of, say, of the auto-reloaded mechanic when you really do need to switch to premium for 270 heat rounds, which, by the way, are fantastic, it just is awkward. Because if you're firing single shot and you decide, oh no, this is a glut of tier 10 heavies, I need the heat. You press A, or whatever your reload button is, and then it's going to take you 60 seconds to get the full clip back. 61 seconds, I believe. It's just sad. It's just sad. And it means that this round is barely useful because there's not enough time in the games to be able to decide, oh, you know what, I need heat for this, so I'll reload the whole clip. In a Progetto, when you've got APCR, it doesn't take anywhere. It takes a while to load the APCR rounds in the premium medium tank. But in the end, you get the gun going pretty quickly, even if it is quite slow for medium tank standards. This tank, you're just waiting around for far too long. It's just terrible. 105mm HE pen as well. It's got HESH rounds, which could be good. Again, it's got the same problem. You're never going to load this round ever in a million years because it's going to take you far too long. So there's just no point in taking the HE because you're never going to load it. What's the point if you're going to have to wait around for 61 seconds to even load a full clip? And if you want to load if even go for the first shell in the clip and just load one HE round, it's going to take you 23 seconds, which is just pathetic. So, 360 alpha, which is nice. Don't get me wrong, 360 alpha, a 3-shot clip for 1080 damage is nice. It's a nice burst. But if you wanted to drop that, reload is horrible. 440 on the HE, but like I say, it's pointless because you're never going to load it. 1400 hit points is relatively low for a tier 8 heavy. There's a lot of tanks like, say, the Tiger 131, the Tiger 1 even at tier 7 that have 1500 hit points. So 1400 is actually quite low for a tier 8 heavy. That's actually a little bit lower than some of the medium tanks at tier 8, which is just odd, but hey ho. 50 km/h top speed. It's a very nice top speed. Problem is, you need a hill to reach it. It's not got that great of a power to weight, and it really, really struggles to hit 50 km/h. It's the kind of tank that has a 50 km/h top speed, but you generally do 40, which is not slow for a heavy tank, realistically, but it's also sluggish, and that you do feel it. 300 meters, 380 meters vision range as well. The view range, it's not bad. It's not brilliant, but it's tier 8, so 380 is about the standard. That's decent. It means you will have to run optics and situational awareness to get the most out of it, which means there's a lot of things with this tank that with the equipment where you won't be dropping stuff, but we'll go over that in the garage bit. 12% still concealment. Well, it's a heavy tank, so you shouldn't really be relying on the concealment all that much, but for 12% for a heavy tank isn't actually that bad. That's pretty good camo for a heavy, but again, it's a heavy tank. You don't really want to be relying on it all that much. So, like I say, 360 damage. It's got a 2.7 second aim time, which is quite slow. It takes a little while to aim in. It's got 0.42 accuracy, which is just abysmal. And to be fair, you can get, I mean, in the 6.0 world, it's still decently accurate, but you cannot snap shots in this tank whatsoever. And because of the reload, which it doesn't actually show in this, because of the reload, missing a shot is just disgusting. Honestly, missing a shot is just horrible in this tank, because it's just missed potential. I mean, it's always not nice missing a shot anyway, but if you miss one with a reload that's as long as this, it just means you wait around for ages and you just more chance of you getting wrecked. And 0.42 accuracy isn't that nice. It would have been a lot worse pre 6.0, trust me, but post 6.0 it's not as bad. But there's a lot of tanks that are just a lot better than it in terms of its accuracy, and yeah. So it's got 10 degrees of gun depression, which is nice, 20 degrees of elevation. Before I go into the rest of the stats, what I'm actually going to do is show you something that I've drawn up here, which is this notepad here, which shows the reloads of certain tanks at tier 8 and some at tier 7. And it just shows how much worse this Bisonte is than a lot of the other tanks at the tier. Because you look here, right? This Bisonte has an 18-second base reload for the last shell that loads into the clip. For the middle shell, it's 20. And for the first shell that will go into the clip, it's 23. That is just... the 360 alpha, that's just shocking. It's dreadful. That all comes together at a 61-second clip. Now, this includes the intra clip, by the way. So, that 18 seconds is actually with the 3-second intra clip it has. It's just horrid. You get it down to about 16.2, I think. The lowest you can possibly get this reload. For 360 alpha, that's just pathetic. It really, really is. Here's the T54E2, which is the Sergeant Slaughter. That's its single shotgun, which, by the way, is just not a very good gun at all. The autoloader is the way to go. It's got an 11.7 second reload. It reloads about 5 seconds quicker than the Bisonte. Now, the Bisonte, the auto reloader shouldn't reload as quick as the single shot, obviously, because it's got to have a downside. But 5 seconds? That's just stupid. That's honestly ridiculous. It really needs to be buffed, because the Sergeant Slaughter is a hard one to put towards it, to compare to, right? Because this tank is actually pretty OP. They've admitted it's an incredibly strong tank going on OP, right? 33-second reload on its clip. It's just under half the time to reload a clip for the same alpha in its clip. Also puts out the shells quicker too. So, I mean, really, if you were to add that to that's 4.4 seconds from the firing the first shell. Really, that's what, 37 seconds, and then you're reloading again, and you're off and ready again. It's just so much better than the Bisonte. It's unbelievable. Like, this will poop all over the Bisonte completely. The T77, which has a pretty damn slow reload for its 1080 clip, right? It's one of the things that a lot of people point out that they're not a fan of in the T77 that's compared to the T54E2. It's just how long the reload is on this tank. 40 seconds. 21 seconds quicker than the Bisonte. If you added the intra clip in, it's 44 seconds before it's reloading, off and ready to go again after it's dumped its clip. It's just so much better. Again, it's so much better than the Bisonte. And this is a sort of average tier 8 heavy tank, you know. If that's the average, What does that make the Bisonte? And I know it's an autoloader, but the fact is it's an autoloader that does the job of the auto reloader 100 times better than this auto reloader does. And as well as that, if you had the single shot on the tank that's actually an autoloader as well, it does it way better than this does in single shot as well. It's not just a little bit better like it should be, it's way better. This Bisonte is just, it's trash. Here's another one, the Barracuda, 360 damage. It's got a 1080 clip, exactly the same, 35-second reload. 2.75 on its intra clip as well, so it puts out the shells even quicker as well. So, I mean, that's what, nearly a 39-second reload. Something like that if you add the intra clipper before, well, 39 seconds before it's ready to reload again. It just craps all over the Bisonte completely. The Armour 1280 clip, it's got a better clip potential. Right, it's got pretty much the same penetration as the Bisonte as well. 3 seconds intra clip. So to put in those 4 shells, that's a 9-second add on to the 37. So that's 46 seconds, and in 46 seconds, this tank is ready to reload again, and it's put 1280 damage into you, which is actually better than you, and it will do that a lot better than the Bisonte every single time. The Nomad Samoa has an incredibly long reload, 47 seconds, but it has 5 shells in its clip for 300 damage, a 1500 clip, 2.25 intra clip. So I want to do the maths, but my brain is not that good. I'd say that's what, 12 seconds, something like that. I don't know. But it's even the Nomad is going to be reloaded or ready to go and reload probably in the similar time to the Bisonte, but it's done 1500 damage. And it's got better armour. Like, yeah, this tank isn't even that great either. It's decent, but it's not great. Like, you got the Stockade, 1280 clip again, 390 damage, 3 shells, 3 second intra clip. You add 6 seconds for the 2 after you fired the first one, 39 seconds, and then it's off and reloading again. By the time if this has dumped its clip, by the time this has reloaded its full clip again, the Stockade's probably nearly ready to just dump its whole clip and finish you off. And the thing is, with the Bisonte with 218 pen, you'll probably bounce on a Stockade a decent amount as well. So we've got a single shot in here as well, which is actually one of the worst reloads at tier 8 for a heavy tank. And that is the Icebreaker, with an 18.2 second reload for 490. 490 damage. This does a single shot of damage in nearly exactly the same time as the Bisonte for 360, but it's got 490 alpha. That just shows off the ridiculousness of 18 seconds for 360. Sure, again, it should be better. I mean, the auto reloader should be worse than a single shot, right? But the fact that it's nearly the same as a tank that does a lot more damage with a higher caliber gun just shows how bad it is. And then we've got tier 7s, right? 300 damage. 300 damage on the Leo 10cm, 12 second reload. CS44 100mm gun, or the 100mm, as we've showed there. 300 damage, 12.7 seconds. These tanks will out DPM you 100% of the time. And you might not kill them with your clip. And by the time you've dumped your clip and start reloading this one, they've probably killed you. Honestly, it's the reload is trash, and I pray to God that they buff this tank, because it's honestly very, very sad that it is that bad. And like I say, I pray to God that the Italian heavies don't come in like this tank, because otherwise it'd just be disastrous generally. And yeah, anyway, enough about the reload. It's trash. You're probably going to hear that more and more as you watch this video. So 185mm of turret armour, 80 on the sides, 50 on the rear, with a 26 degrees a second traverse speed on the turret and 380 meters view range, like you've seen. So here's the armour model for the Bisonte. The upper plate is got little bits of spaced armour on it, so if you're firing heat, you've just be aware that it has got spaced armour on it, and every so often your heat shells will get absorbed, but it's only about 200, 190 in places. In the places where there's no spaced armour, it's about 190 to 200 millimeters effective. 212 where the spaced armour is. The lower plate is 115. Tier 6s will pen this lower plate with absolute ease with their standard rounds. The armour on this upper plate and lower plate is trash for a heavy tank. It really is a support heavy tank in that regard. The armour is tragic. The turret armour is pretty nice. So you're seeing it here, look, 240 on the sides. Further out is even better. The gun mantlet's decent, but there are spots where it will get penned. Against your own tier 8s, this turret armour, while you're hull down and you're using the max length of the gun depression, right? So say I'm looking at a tank like that. That turret's pretty nice. That's probably one good feature of the tank. And the fact that the turret is pretty decent when you hull down. Tier 10s might completely destroy it, but you are a tier 8 tank, let's be honest. So that is the strength of the tank. Is that hull armor, not hull armor, sorry, the hull armor's trash. Is that turret armor. So if you can get hull down and use the turret against against the same tier tanks and lower, you will have a good time. But your reload is so bad that if they decide to just YOLO over and YOLO you, they will wreck you. Unfortunately, that's the Bisonte. It can side scrape. As you see here, it's got decent side armour, and that side armour will protect you if you decide to side scrape, but there is a slight problem with that, and that is that if you're side scraping, the turret overhangs the side. So they will get shots at this side turret. So if they have about 200, if you're facing a tank that's about 250 pen, they will go through this side turret here with relative ease while you're trying to bait shots in the side. But if you keep wiggling and moving, you know, it's going to be quite difficult for them, especially if they're like at distance like that. You know, it's just one of those things. But yeah, hull down is where this tank will want to be. The upper plate and lower plate are trash. It's not a brawler, so try not to brawl, although I do it because I'm stupid, pretty much. So it's got a 600 horsepower engine, 12.46 horsepower per ton. That's pretty poor for this heavy tank, for its weight, which we don't get to see here. It doesn't really hit 50 unless you're going downhill. It really struggles to get up to 50. 40 kilometers an hour is pretty much the max I've managed to fully get it up to, where you're going at a consistent straight line. It could do with the powertrain where you get 5% extra horsepower, and in that it probably would hit the 50 a little bit better. But there's too many other pieces of equipment this tank needs to be good. Or, I say good, to be bearable. That's the better way of putting it. 15 kilometers an hour top speed, reverse speed, sorry, is not that bad. It's decent. It's not slow, but it's not quick. It's one of those reverse speeds. 12% fire chance as well isn't too bad. Mix that in with possibly crew skills and stuff, you won't get set on fire that often, and I haven't been set on fire yet in it. 26 degrees a second on the traverse speed of the tracks is slow. It's not that quick. It is pretty sluggish to turn, as well as that having the not that great horsepower per ton as well. It's a fairly sluggish old tank, and the terrain resistances don't help that too either. But yeah, on the whole, this tank, I've outlined all the reasons why I don't like this tank, and I don't think it's very good. I like the auto reloader mechanic, which is probably why I'm more likely to play it quite a decent amount, because I do like the mechanic. The mechanic is fun. But if they butcher the reloads like they have on the tank, if they butcher these reloads and make it this bad, it just doesn't make the tank that fun, honestly. And I pray to God that they buff it. And yeah, so sorry it's quite a long one on this stats section, but that's just the way it had to be, because I had to fully outline why I think this tank's reload's trash and compare it and show you reasons and other tanks that are fairly similar with the gun to it and why it's so bad. So let's go over to the garage, where you can see the crew setup and the equipment setup for the tank and what we can get these stats down to with those crew skills and stuff. So I'll see you in the garage. So here we are in the garage with the Trashonte C45, and yeah, it's not a bad looking tank, you know. I really like the look of it. It's just a shame it's complete trash. That's an unfortunate thing with this tank. Hopefully they buff it, like I say. It's one of those things. But it's a good looking tank. Let's have a look at the skin that you can get with the tank. It's the, I think it's called the Priscus skin. And yeah, I don't think it looks that bad. It's not as bad as some of the skins we already have in the game, but is it worth £3 grand? I don't know if it's worth £3 grand. That's up to you. I think the skins and what they're worth is different to different people. To be perfectly honest, I don't like that skin myself. I won't pay 3,000 gold for it, but some people might. But that's the skin for it. And I'll just swivel it around in the garage so you can get a fully look at it like that. So let's go over the equipment that I run on the Bisonte. I run the rammer, the vert stabs, and the optics, or the gun stabilizer it's called. Because the rammer you need, because the DPM is just that bad that you need the rammer, you need the 10% extra load time, you really, really need it. It's that bad, you need that reload down as much as possible. And that is a must for this tank. The gun stabilizer, because the .42 accuracy is trash, you need the 20% extra accuracy that you will get from this gun stabilizer. You really need that because of how bad the accuracy is on the gun, so it's definitely an equipment slot that you will need. And optics, because the tank's not that... It's got 380 meters view range, which is about right for a tier 8 tank, right? And 380 meters view range isn't that great, really. Well, it's decent, but you need optics to get it up to the 445 view range area, and add situational awareness to it as well. You'll have decent view range. You won't get out spotted, which is a key thing for this game. You never really want to be out spotted by anything, because if you get out spotted, the likelihood is that they'll get the first shot off and they can get into cover. Whereas if you have good view range, you will spot them and you'll probably get a shot back in return. So optics is why I run that. I mean, you could run vents because the DPM is that bad, right? That you want to improve everything you possibly can, and make with vents you will probably improve the reload a little bit more as well. Or you could run the powertrain, like I say, to make it a little bit quicker and a little less sluggish. You could do that also. It's down to personal preference, but for me personally, the view range is what I want to max out with that. And they're the 3 pieces of equipment that I'm guaranteed to take. I do take 3 rounds of HE. I will never load these 3 rounds of HE because of how long it takes to actually reload, but I do carry them. 36 AP and 21 heat. The heat is great, like I say, for tier 10s. It means you won't really ever struggle with them, to be honest, with 270, which is nice. Let's go into the commander for this tank. The commander for this tank, I run Born Leader, Rapid Loading, Trap Mechanic, Steady Aim, Situational Awareness, Sixth Sense, Snapshot, Run and Gun, and Armour Angling. Now, I run the Run and Gun as Snapshot and Steady Aim because you need the gun accuracy to be as good as possible. So having these gun perks makes it as good as it possibly can be with the perks that you have. So you definitely need those for this tank. Situational Awareness, like I say, make the view range as good as possible. Yep. Sixth Sense, because you want to know when you're spotted. Trap Mechanic, because getting your tracks back on, especially in the heavy tank, getting tracks back on as quick as possible is what you need, so that you're not stuck taking too many hits out in the open if you do get caught out. Rapid Loading, because the reload is trash. You need as much help as you can possibly get with the reload, and that's why you run Born Leader as well. But Born Leader also has the effect of making everything else about the tank 10% better, which is very nice. Now, I run Armour Angling as well because I want to decrease the amount of damage that I'm taking as this heavy tank. Because the damage that I'm taking, if I take less, it gives me more chance to get my reloads in and get an extra shot or 2 of damage, which is vital for this tank because of how bad the reload is. That's why I run Armour Angling, but that last slot could be used for... Well, it could be... It's completely your preference, to be honest. You could use for quite a few things. You could use Rapid Aim, because then at that you could actually help the turret rotation and make the turret rotation better, which would be nice because the turret rotation is fairly slow. So you could do that quite easily. So that's a valid skill that you could use. Off-road driving, because the terrain resistances aren't that good. It might help the sluggishness of the turning of the tracks. You could take off-road driving quite easily. Like I say, you're never going to take rollover recovery. Clutch braking is another one. Again, the traverse speed, 7.5% increase to the whole traverse. You could take clutch braking as well in that slot. Again, it's all personal preference for me. That's what it is. It's all personal preference. So you could take any of those to improve it. Obviously, you've got the firefighting skills that you could take to help yourself not get set on fire. But like I say, I've not been set on fire yet in this tank in 15 or 16 games. So I'm less likely to take that because it's not one that does get set on fire all that often. Or you could just run general mechanic in the hope that if they break the gun, they'll repair it quicker. or you know, it just makes, if you run track mechanic and general mechanic together, as well as having the large repair kit, the tracks get back on pretty instantaneously. It's actually pretty mental, to be honest. So you could also do that if you really wanted to, or to save something that does happen, you could run pain tolerance or safe stowage, because ammo racking and loader damage is death for this tank. Because what happened to me is I lost my loader and I was on single shot mode, and I ended up having like a 45-second reload for one shell for 360. 45 seconds. Not, I think it was the second reload. Yeah, anyway, it's ridiculously high penalty for getting your loader damaged or your ammo rack. So there, safe stowage or pain tolerance are two that you could actually take in that slot as well, to try and make sure that you're not going to lose your ammo rack or your loader. It might help. But that's all, that's it. It's all down to personal preference on that bit. The other thing I need to show is the shell velocity. So if you look in the middle of your page, third column, third one down in the middle column, the max speed of the ammo, the shell velocity, is 1,155 on the AP and 800 on the heat and HE. 1,155 on the AP is pretty damn good. That is actually pretty damn good. That's nice for an AP round. It's not slow. It means that you don't have to lead as much as you might have to with other rounds that tend to be like 900 to 1,000. So that 1,100 is nice. The 800, just bear in mind that if you do switch to heat rounds, you do have a slower shell velocity. So you really do have to lead the rounds a little bit better. So just bear that in mind. That is what I've got the gun down to, by the way, with those crew skills. 0.3. Now, the 0.3 accuracy also doesn't actually count up the vert stabs either, or the gun stabilizer. So that is actually going to be 20% better, that 0.3 accuracy. So I don't actually know what that would be with the stabs. I think it's 0.26 maybe, which is, you know, it's pretty nice, actually, to be honest. But it does feel a little bit derpy every now and then because of the 2.78 second aim time as well. And by the way, in the garage, that rate of fire, 11.69 RPM, is lies. It's actually a bug, so don't believe that. But anyway, I'm going to take you all over to the replays now. I've talked enough about this tank in the stats and in the garage portion, way too much. This video is going to be a very long one, and I'm sorry about that. But yeah, so as always, I'm going to take you over to the gameplay where you can watch the average games and the game that you can get in its best situation. And you can watch it and you can decide, no, that guy's telling a load of porky pies. This tank looks great. I love the look of it. I'm going to buy it. Or you can go, actually, this guy sounds like he's talking some sense. And it looks dreadful. I'm not going to buy this tank. I think this tank will be a whale tank, like myself. And it's not going to be one that you're going to want to buy. You're not going to be wanting to part with your hard-earned cash for this tank at all. I would not recommend it. So as always, everybody, I'll see you in the gameplay. So here we're on the replays, and this first game is on Himmelsdorf, and it's not really that good of a replay to show, because I do something stupid, and that is I don't pay attention to where my team's going, and you'll see it in a minute that I realise what's happening. This is NBA on Himmelsdorf. It's a stupid thing to have, because of the spawns, and look what my team's going. Yeah, and I decided to stay on the bottom floor with bad DPM. So, you see in the reload, it's 13 seconds. 13 seconds on that last shell. Fully pimped, everything possible going. It's 13 seconds for 360 alpha. That is very, very slow. Is it unusable? No, it's usable. But there's only certain situations in which you come out on top with that type of reload against many other tanks. The benefit obviously is that you do have a clip, which means that you can drop it. You can drop the damage at a moment's notice. But this replay kind of shows what you can kind of do when you are pushed for your reload, or you're pushing the reload to the maximum that you can possibly do, right? So we're going to stay in single shot mode at the minute. And we are very, very alone. We are facing tanks that are 2 tiers lower than us and a tier lower than us. This is sort of the ideal scenario for the tank to be... Well, the ideal tanks for the tank to be facing when so outnumbered. Because if we were facing tier 9s and 10s, they'd just poop all over us and we'd be done for. But we're holding our own here. And there is one thing that things like the auto reloaders, like the Bisonte and like the Progetto line can do, is that they can pad damage and make games look better than they actually were. So you see I missed a shot there. That was the unfortunately bad gun handling. It flew right to the right there, which is just unfortunate. And we're now just getting pummeled by artillery. We've done 1300 damage. We get one more shot into the T20. We're up to 1600 damage. And we're going to wait for that shell to go in. Obviously, with food boost, it was about 9.2 plus the 3-second intra clip. Now this light tank's yelled in. We shut him down, and this is where the padding comes in. We're about to die. I've realised this at this point. We're going down. So we just dump the clip, get the damage, and we've done 2.5k damage. And obviously, you're sitting there going, well, 2.5k damage is a pretty decent gain for that short amount of time. Did we help our team out there? Not at all. I mean, obviously, our positioning was terrible. But we just made the game, in terms of damage, look better purely because we have the ability to switch between being a single shot and an auto loader. So we just dumped the clip and made our game look better by having 2.5k damage. But did we do anything meaningful there? Did our DPM help us to try and take out any of those tanks even easier than it was? No. 13 seconds for the 360 Alpha is just so slow. And imagine that the T-54E2, the Sergeant Slaughter, with its stock gun, well, I say stock gun, it's what it's named as, the stock gun. It's the single shot, 11.7 seconds on its base. You're looking at about 9 seconds for 360 Alpha. That's like 4 to 5 seconds quicker than this. It's just nutty how bad this reload is on this tank. But here we are on the second replay, and we are on Kaunas, and I'm trying to look for shots at this T10. Unfortunately, can't quite get them. He's in a bit of an awkward position for us to shoot at. And we're just seeing if we're going to get a shot of the Aguila, but we're not going to chance it. Because this is the thing, obviously, when you've got such a bad reload, you don't want to chance a shot, because if you miss one, it's a very long reload, and you just don't want to put up with that. We get a nice shot into the Nomad, and we also get, oh, at 5100 even, we also get high roll, 384. Those are things you don't see very often. And that was really nice. And now we're aiming the shot in, and this is where I'm saying about the fact that the accuracy on the gun is bad, but because of 6.0 and the stabs and all that good stuff, you are still pretty accurate, right? And pre 6.0 it would have been horrendous. Post 6.0, obviously, you're still going to hit those very slim shots, like you saw on the T-54 there, through the staircase next to the windmill. We boost our reload with food, we pop a shot in, we're still sticking to single shot here to basically conserve our DPM, what little of it we have. And you might be looking at it going, well, 13 seconds for this reload. You know, this reload doesn't look all that bad. It's just considering what you are facing, and obviously you do have to play a lot more passive in the tank. You've got to be a lot less aggressive, a lot less in people's faces, because if you do try and go one-on-one with people, they'll just wreck your day so quickly, and you just will not be able to keep up with them. So this HWK-30 has decided to come round and shoot us in the side. We're not going to allow that. We pop round, shoot him once, and I could have finished the T-54 lightweight, but I just decided not to because I want to hold the shell. I get a shot into the M46 Patton, which is just a dangerous tank for us to face. We don't want to face that because he will wreck our day. He's got like a 7-second reload, less than that for 390 Alpha. He reloads so much quicker than we do, he will just destroy us. We don't want to take that guy on head on, so we're just being a little bit more careful. And obviously that is the way you've got to be with this tank. You've got to pick your fights. Now at the minute I'm hull down, and that's where an auto reloader comes into play, because we got a shot into that M46. That put him onto a one-shot. We're not going to let him live. We may as well use the time we've got to put our second shot in, finish him off, pull back, and then just wait for this abysmal reload to come in. Because that is the thing. When you fire more than one shot, you are spending a lot of time sitting there going, oh, I could have fired there. I could have fired there. Oh, I could have fired there as well. And yeah, the tank is pretty high skill cap. That is probably the way I put it. It's a very high skill cap. It takes a lot to get the most out of it because it's really down to your decision making to have a decent game. Now these games that we're having are pretty decent. I say pretty decent. These are the games that we've got to show the game what the tank can do pretty decently in the game. I did have better reloads. I'm getting words, please. I did have better replays. Like, I actually had a Radley Walters, which was perfectly showed off what this tank, how frustrating this tank can be, but at the same time, how good at kill stealing it is. But I had like 3 games that were all corrupted, and it's very, very frustrating when that happens. I can tell you, just that YouTube life. There is a lot of times you do just spend twiddling your thumbs, and it is kind of like you know, you spend a lot of time just wishing you could be firing. And it's just sort of the conundrum of the auto reloader. So I'm looking at this SU-101 and I do want to fire at him when it was coming over there. But the back of my mind is saying, no, just don't do it. You want the reload. You want the full reload. We don't want to have to go back to reloading that second shell. It's awful. And honestly, my tip for the tank, if you are going to pick it up, which I fully recommend you don't, is that fire 2 shells. The reload doesn't feel as bad if you fire 2 shells, right? Firing all 3, this reload is just abysmal. Don't do it. If you're going to fight, just fire 2 shells and that is it. And then just reload the 2 shells and then continue on firing 1 shell. And play the auto reloader mechanic like it should be played, which is pretty much fire single shot until you need to kill something. When you can kill something and you've taken it down into the range of your clip potential, do that. But you've also got to assess the situation you're in, because not all situations are going to be good for doing that, because you could also be screwing yourself over and just basically eliminating someone but also killing yourself, which is, you know, something you don't want. So we're going to finish off this T28 straight through his lower plate. That, I say his lower plate, really that was his plate, his armour. T28 is a very sad tank. And we're going after the last tank alive, which is this SU-101. But he is surrounded by a light tank, so I'm not likely to get the kill, and 705 shuts down the SU-101. But we finished that game with a nice tally. We finished with the victory. Top of the team, 5 kills, 3.7k damage, 1800 assist, and 874 assisted. And obviously you saw there, that was the perfect sort of little game for the Bisonte, because we had a lot of time. It was a 6-minute game, which is pretty slow these days, let's be honest. And it was the perfect amount of time to be able to... we just got left alone. If you have any times when you get rushed by tanks, which happens a lot and you can't do anything about it, it tends to go quite badly for you. So we're on to the last game of the video, and we're on Pilsen, and this is going to be an ace tanker game. This is like the perfect scenarios, and it also shows a little bit how you need to... There's some scenarios in this replay where the auto reloader it's played how you need to be playing the auto reloader and the decisions you want to be making. So we're on Pilsen, and we're going to go to the position at F7 so that we can get crossfires on people that go up the JK line, because that way, you know, we can stop them trying to cross. So we're reloaded in time for this Type 59-2. We get a shot into him, and that display below the reload is actually bugged, because it said 16.8 second reload there, which would have been the reload with the intro clip, but it's not that. That is definitely not. It's a 13-second reload, definitely. We are getting some nice shots into these guys crossing. So now I decide, you know what, we're going to dump the clip, because I want to track this IS-3 in place. We were unfortunate with the first shell that didn't track him, but we managed to track him with the second. We managed to get 520 assist out of that. I didn't want that IS-3 to get into a safe position like where the Type 59-2 is. I didn't want that Type 59-2 to have support. So I wanted to track him in place, basically get him out of the game and help my mediums and TDs behind me to shut him down, basically. So now we're just spending time reloading, and I'm just slightly frustrated because of just how long I'm having to wait. We're chilling out, and there you go. If you see it, if you pause and rewind, we've got a 13-second reload. That's obviously not counting the intro clip, because if we fire one and fire, it will be that there. But there we go. So 3 seconds, and yeah, it's actually with 9.2 with the food boosted. So with the 3 seconds added onto that, it's a 12.2 second reload with food boosted, which I say it's usable, right? It means you're going to be able to do damage, but there's just too many other tanks that do more damage than that and have a similar reload, and that's a very, very sad fact. So right now you've seen a bit of the frustration that I had there in the fact that I fired at that round panzer and I bounced. So I got frustrated and fired my second shell, and now I'm stuck in that 2-clip reload again. I'm going to cross over to see if I can get attacking on this ISM, because I want to get rid of this guy and try and attack the Pershing from this side. Now the ISM gets shut down, and I'm looking at it like the Pershing seems to be running away, and there's actually TDs in the middle, and they have won the other flank. And that's kind of making me want to defend them pushing through the middle. So what I actually want to do is get close to the shelter in front of the factory in front of us and see if we can catch anyone out. But there's actually still this round panzer here, so we're just going to get rid of him. We shove a shot through the lower bit of his ram, and then we finish him off. And that's what's good about auto reloaders. Obviously you don't just have to blow a clip and then you're stuck with a long reload just for firing 2 shells. When a tank is on a 2-shot, you can just go bang, bang, it's dead, and I'll reload. Sure, the reload is still stuffy and long, but at the same time, it helps just to be able to get rid of tanks. Kill securing and kill stealing is what this tank is goddamn good at, and it's what auto reloaders are good at. So we're going to drive around the corner, pop one shot into the Yag Tiger, finish him off with the second. I know the Foch should come round to shoot me, so we're driving back instantly. We burn the repair kit to get away from the Foch, and we're back into safety. And we're back waiting for the reload. Like I say, that 2-shot is the way forward when you're having to finish off tanks. That 2-shot is very powerful. When you fire the third, that is when the tank becomes absolute utter garbage. Still not great with the single shot, but hey ho. So we drive round, we get a shot into the Pershing. I could finish him off, but this is not the time to blow the clip. Look at the tanks in front of us. We don't want to blow the clip. Now, to be honest, watching it back, I'm definitely sacrificing that medium tank in front of me. But I'm sacrificing because I don't want to be stuck with a bad reload. I could have finished the Tiger P there, but I thought the Pershing was going to pop out, and I thought, you know what, no. I want to keep my DPM as high as possible. We get a nice shot into the IS that actually sets him on fire and puts him on a 1-shot for us, which is very nice. We're going to wait for the reload to go in. The Pershing pops round and shoots us. We managed to bounce the IS, which is good. We're just waiting for the reload. Then we pop round, finish off the IS. Now we can finish off the Pershing. And with the last shell, this is where saving the reload can help and finish off tanks. Unfortunately, we bounce on the Tiger P, which makes this just infinitely more awkward. Now, we're lucky that the Waffle Panzer IV behind me is actually competent and gets rid of the... Or, I say gets rid of, is dealing with the Foch behind us. Now we've got the shelling and we bounce that Tiger P. We're just going to pop round, make sure we finish him off, and we're still stuck with that very long reload. So I'm completely useless to this Waffle Panzer IV now, but he's managed to get the Foch down to a 1-shot. The Foch will have to put 2 in to finish the Waffle, so the Waffle, next time he pops round, will finish him off, and he does. But that situation there was a perfect example of why you need to keep the DPM high, because that moment there, I could actually just go bang, 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 and finish off the tanks. So we finished with 5 kills, 4.7k damage, 624 assistance, ace tanker, sniper, high caliber, and just a 2.1k base, so just a really nice game for the Bisonte. And that showed exactly where the auto reloaders can be dangerous and how you need to use them. So as always, everybody, thank you very much for watching. Don't buy this tank. The Trashonte is not the way forward. And I'll see you next time.
A great success!